All right. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the High Performance Call. Appreciate you guys being on Monday through Friday, noon Eastern time. My name's Andrew David. You guys are all here with Blake Newbar's partner program. Appreciate you guys one and all. On today, this Monday, want to say happy International Women's Day, right? Hopefully you guys take a minute and think about that. And I think it's absolutely, maybe we should just do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we just create the schedule like that. Like, I don't know why there's just one day. It's half the freaking population, but that's neither here nor there. But today, quick little challenge for you is just find someone today, or a number of women today that inspire you, study a little bit about their lives. Make studying biographies, autobiographies and regular biographies of successful individuals part of what you do. I promise you will learn some of the most unique and amazing things ever when you start reading and studying about people. So, today then, what I wanted to do is go ahead and jump in. This is the book then I wanted to talk about today. This is one that we've talked about a little bit before. It's one of the ones that I recommend. How many of you guys have already read this book? 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Anybody? Yes? No? It's one of the 5 that I typically recommend. Okay. It is
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Too late.
Yep, exactly. All right, that's it. We're good. So guys, go study and I'll talk with you later. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Too late. That's what you get. So what she's talking about here now, there's some cool stuff that she talks about here. She gets into, acting. She talks like acting quickly. She talks about, movement and creating momentum. She talks about overcoming the obstacles, the mental obstacles that we create. She talks about, building out those new habits. We talk about what our brain does, how our brain functions, which all of these great things that we've talked about in a number of different capacities. And the importance of, listening to not just the mindset, but the skill set side of our lives. So a couple of key points that I want to go over with this book, and then really want to give you guys a challenge to go out and read some of it today. So let's dive in. Okay. Mel Robbins, absolutely amazing speaker. If you'd like, go find her on, a couple of her TED Talks are pretty fantastic. So you can find her there. But 5-second rule, fastest way to change your life. What this really boils down to is the moment that you have an instinct, stop wishing, start doing. The moment you have an instinct, stop wishing, start doing. Now, we've talked about this before. It is so much easier to create momentum once you take those first steps. Okay. Now, when we're talking about instinct, David, not chocolate. She's got a soup or something. So when we're talking about instinct, what we're looking at is we're not talking about fear. We're not talking about emotion. There is though, however, that kind of gut feeling that a lot of times we get, but we don't listen to it. We try and logic everything away. How many of you guys have done that at some point and look back and gone, man, wish I'd done something? How many of you guys heard about Bitcoin when it was like $100, somewhere in that neighborhood? How many of you guys heard about that and shook it off and said, that's ridiculous?
I heard back in 2009, people working in my office, they told me I'm lunatic. And a few people invested back then, 2009. One guy invested $60,000. The other one invested $150,000. Both are multi-billionaire. Both are multi-billionaire now.
Yeah. Yeah. If they held on to it. Right.
Yeah, they did.
So that's sometimes, guys, what we look at. Logic doesn't always play with what's going to be the best for us. I mean, that's just the reality. And this is why when we talk about mindset and skill set, it's this balance of both sides of our brain. It's the emotion and the logic, and you've got to be able to look at both. And sometimes that instinct says, you got to do this. Sometimes it's your relationship, right? Sometimes it's stepping into a relationship. So, I mean, I knew that first moment that I saw my fiance walking up, my first instinct was, crap, I'm in trouble. Meaning, here was a woman that I knew had herself together, and with any bit of effort on her part at all, I knew I was going to be lost in a great and amazing way. But I knew it. That instinct was there. You'll have those moments in life, guys, but find just part of that's that emotional, that EQ that we talk about, the emotional intelligence. Sometimes start listening to yourself, have a little more faith in yourself, and start to take action. Okay, next.
Andrew, how did you pull her out the water?
How did I saw her. We met online. We met through an app. She and I connected through an app, and then first time we met, she was walking up. We were at Amusement City Walk at Universal Orlando, is where we met. And just walking up, I just, anyway. So second piece of the 5-second rule is act on a goal. So your instinct, this is what we're looking at. Understanding your goals, having clarity in what you want to achieve is important when we're looking at instincts, because we're looking for the instincts that help us act on goals, not just instincts in general. Okay. Instincts that help us achieve goals. That's what we're looking for. If we have a goal to be healthy and we get an instinct that we need to do something, that's what we need to pay attention to. If we have a goal to become more successful with our business and we have an instinct, something says, hey, you need to work through this, then you need to take that action and take that step. Right? Instincts, when they relate to goals, are going to be the ones that you want to pay more attention to. With that said, some of you have trained yourselves to only listen to the negative or fear instincts that you've had throughout life. And if that's the case, then you need to be aware and shift. And it's going to be hard. Some of you fit into this category, and I'm just talking numbers. We got 50 people on the call. So odds are some of you fit here. Now, many of you are here because you're focused and you're lifting and you're growing and you're working on those filters and you're working on the paradigms just like David's talking about. And maybe it's not you. Maybe it's someone that is still influencing your life. How many of us are aware of an individual that is constantly screaming that the sky is falling and things are going to go wrong? And that's all they ever talk about. Then when they're correct, see, I told you it was going to mess up. I told you it was going to happen, right? Because stuff goes wrong in life. Nancy Pelosi. We're not talking politics, David. We're not talking politics. Stuff goes wrong, guys. It's part of life. And if you're one of those individuals where you're constantly looking for something to go wrong, oh my gosh, is it, I just don't want it to fail. If you're stepping into this with that saying, I just don't want it to fail, and so the instincts are screaming at you, don't take a chance because you might fail, then it has nothing to do with the universe coming against you. You're the one that's fighting against winning. What do we talk about on Friday? Right? Living your life to win instead of living to lose, not to lose. Right? Too many of us are kind of caught on that other side. So you've got to be aware of yourself. So we're looking for the instincts to help us achieve goals. Those are the ones that we're focused on. Number 3, you've got to push yourself. This is Mel Robbins right here. I don't know if it was a TED Talk or one of the other things. You're never, ever going to feel like it. Ever. I would say that applies to a lot of things. And yes, there are always the outliers. I know some of you are looking at it going, well, I do feel like it's okay. I get it. Right? Yes, sure. But more often than not, those difficult things, especially the new things that we're learning, the things that we're trying to do, be it improve health. I never feel like hopping on a Stairmaster ever. Like my calves start hurting before I get on, and I already, before I even start. Right? But I do it because I know the benefits of it. Right?
How much did you pay for your Stairmaster?
Aga, don't start. I know. I knew exactly what you were coming with. So, but guys, when we're talking finances, we're talking about spending, we're talking about, sitting down and working on something. A lot of times it's, I don't want to do this, right? I've got something else. That's easy because our brains, we've talked about this before. Our brains are trained around finding the easiest solution to anything. And the easiest solution is to remain within not our comfort zone, but our content zone, right? This is what we're content with because this is what our brain has built up, those neurosynapses, like our habits and all of those neurotransmitters. Our brain has built up over time these pathways that make it easy to do the stuff we do every single day. Super easy. We don't even have to think about a lot of it. And it's kept us in that rut. And if you're looking to change any of those things, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take work, and it's going to take effort. If I'm learning a new skill, if I'm trying to teach myself something, even though I've spent 20 years doing something else, right? I've spent 20 years as an accountant. I've spent 20 years as swinging a hammer or doing this or doing that. And now I've got to become a digital entrepreneur. Man, it's not going to be easy. Can I get over it? Yeah, absolutely. But this is where the drive comes in. And it's pushing yourself past the, well, I do it, but I'm just not feeling it. Okay. So do it anyway. Stretching is uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, guys. Everything you ever want is outside of that comfort zone, for sure. Right? Next, move within 5 seconds. So there's Brian's summary. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Does it have to be 5 seconds? No. Why not 7? Why not 3? Why not 13? The sooner you can act, the better. 5 seconds is an easy thing to remember. If you're one of those individuals that can make yourself move in 2 or 3 seconds, or you start to train yourself over and over and over, then awesome. But what you want to do within 5 seconds is physically move towards your goals in some way. So it doesn't mean that you've got to jump up and be squatting in 5 seconds. Oh crap, I got to be in a push-up position. Had an instinct, I need to get healthier. Quick, drop, give me 20. It's not what we're talking about. But start moving. Do something. Because that physical movement creates a trigger. Those triggers are what's going to keep you moving. Right? Start doing it though. The only way to overcome is a constant, consistent flow of new information and new actions. That's how you change who you are and how you behave on an emotional, a physical, a psychological, on a soul level. There's 2 big ways to change, right? Number 1 is something happens, something traumatic happens. Trauma changes behavior, positive or negative, right? Trauma that I'm talking about in this regards is just simply something significant that will help shift your paradigm. Everybody here has experienced something in their life that made them shift like that. First time you held a child that was yours, a newborn baby, right? A business failed. Somebody had a heart attack, car accident, that winning moment, that Phoenix moment, that was that, like, when you recognize, hey, I am a winner, I can do this. So something like that can shift your paradigm. Now we've talked about though how our brain works. So the other way to shift your paradigm is a constant, consistent flow of new actions and new information. Each and every day. This is why reading every day. This is why, being on these calls, listening to podcasts, taking action all of the time. This is why that works, is because I'm slowly becoming a different person. Which one do you think is going to have longer staying power of the 2 methods? Typically, on average. I hate, Scott, the second one. I hate that we now live in a world where I always have to have a disclaimer. Yes, there are extreme circumstances of this or that or the other. Sure. But guys, think about your life. Because that immediate thing, what happens is that our brain doesn't totally rewire itself all of a sudden, right? It's not a superhero movie. I don't know if any of you guys watch the Marvel stuff. I obviously am a fan of superheroes and fantasy and everything else. So WandaVision, if you guys are familiar with Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff throughout the Avengers movies, right? When she's first introduced, and then in one of the episodes last night, she goes up and she places her hand on people's, does this little thing and screws with their memory, right? Puts different thoughts into their head and it automatically changes their behaviors. I mean, be awesome if we had that. Someone could walk in and be like, oh, that's the problem that you've got here. Let me fiddle with you a little bit, change it all up. But we don't. So we've got to do it the regular way. We're all humans instead of mutants. So we've got to change ourselves. We've got to create the fix versus the growth mindset, right? That lifelong learning. That's what it's about. Okay, so you need to find a way to provide constant and consistent learning for yourself and then take action on it over time. One way to do that is set up that trigger. Maybe write somewhere, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Write in a number of different places. Start to recognize for yourself when those moments arrive and what you can do to put yourself in a position to start to take actions on the instincts that you should be feeling to help you move towards your goals. The more that you do that, the more successful you will be long-term in any one of your endeavors, ladies and gentlemen, all of them. That's not me. That's science. If I'm willing to change, I'll bring about change. If I'm willing to fight through the fears that I'm going to have and not listen to the naysayers and get over it, even if I've got an obstacle or 2 or 20, then I'll do it. How many times have we heard the story about, hopefully you guys have. How many times was, oh my gosh, what was his name? Founder of Starbucks. Anybody have a name for me? How many times was, I love the shirt. How many times was the founder of Starbucks turned down before he finally got funding? And understand, his story was he started as an employee, right? And the guys that they had didn't want to expand beyond a certain element. He went to Italy, saw how the coffee shops were being run there, how much of a part of society it was, says, I think America needs this. How many times was he shut down before he finally got funding to go after his ideas? Anybody know? How many times have you guys heard no and given up? He was turned down not 10 times, not 50, not 100, not 150. He was turned down by over 220 banks before he finally got a yes. And now we have Starbucks. Howard Schultz. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Turned down over 200 times, ladies and gentlemen. How many times have you allowed yourself to be told no, where you just went, not for me? Or you told your own instincts no simply because making that additional step was going to be a little difficult or painful or frustrating, or you didn't know what the outcome would be. Well, see, I would, but I'm just not sure how it's going to turn out. Next, if you don't move, your brain will kill it. Any new idea, any new activity, any new habit, if you give your brain long enough, your brain will kill it. Any of them. And I get it all the time. People come in here, you give yourself a handful of days before the welcome call, before you start taking action on anything. Some of you guys that are taking that step with Accelerator, take action. Don't delay it. Get stuff done. Get yourself moving. Make it happen and go, because you'll always find a way to talk yourself out of it. Always. That's talking myself out of it's the easy part. That's why the 5-second rule becomes a powerful motivator, but you've got to buy into it. Guys, one of the key elements, I think, for a lot of you guys have been here over and over and over, and I applaud you for it, and I appreciate it. It allows me to share with you. Hopefully you started to see this thread of reality that spins its way through every success principle there is. This is connected to this. Oh my gosh, we talked about this over here for a totally different subject, and yet it relates right now. Wow, brain health and this? Oh my gosh, emotional intelligence and the 5-second rule? Oh, having a vision of what I actually want to achieve so I can create the goals and then act on the instincts that will help me attain my goals. Man, here we are. Guys, success, there's an equation, and we've talked about it before, but there is 100%, there is an equation that leads to success. And there are a handful of constants within that equation, right? What do we have in algebra? We have some things that are variables, and then you have those numbers that like you can't change. Success is a mathematical equation. But each one of you have your own variables. But you've got to understand what they are. You've got to be able to pinpoint those. Now, conversations with some of the right individuals can help you pinpoint, but ultimately, you're the one that says, here we are. Here's what I need to do. And then once you recognize this is key, and this is where the 5-second rule comes in. A lot of you guys have recognized some of those obstacles and said, Andrew, here's my issue. And then all of a sudden you go, but I don't know. I just haven't acted on it yet. Oh, I know this is my problem. How many times have you told yourself that? I know this is my problem, but what? You throw up all over yourselves emotionally and mentally sometimes. And you're walking through life with that vomit of not feeling worthy and fear and anger and, victimhood. You leave it on yourself and walk through life. I know it's there and I know I've got to deal with it, but I'll get to it later. Guys, go in and cleanse yourself of the nonsense, understand what's there, recognize the power you have within you, and then put on those vestments of that clean, powerful, wonderful individual that you are and get something done and go and make something of yourselves, because you're all capable of doing that. No matter what's going on, you'll find a way to rise up and rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. So on that note, go read 5-Second Rule, read some of the elements today. Do a little study on some biographies of successful women, and really let's do that. Let's forget this International Women's Day. Let's just throughout this week, how about we do that? We'll get some training from some rock star women and we'll just roll with that, and I don't think anybody's going to fuss about it. So that's what the plan is for the week. And go out and just do some amazing things for yourselves today, guys. Email if you've got some questions later on this week. Tomorrow I'm going to do a little Q&A and we'll get into some other things. So on that note, appreciate you. Love you guys. Have an amazing day. I will talk with you soon. Take care, everybody.